Hey everyone, this is Coach Bryan coming from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. I coach at Creekside Tennis Club with the Joanne Lee Tennis Academy. And I was just making a video to kind of introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me and my tennis story. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky at a time where tennis was a huge sport. We had a lot of great players. And it was just a blast. I started at age 10 and I played at local tennis courts on just some, a local park. Started with, first day, just a friend of mine took me out and I kind of fell in love with it from there. My mom started playing and she started getting into it as well and just kind of took off. Yeah, I started at the parks and then I started to hear you needed to take private lessons. So I started taking lessons. Ended up with a great technical coach named Bill Mann. And he was my mentor for many years. He was like a second dad to me. But he taught me so many great things about tennis. He was really into it and loved it. And yeah, it took me from 10 years old to, by the time I was 14, I was top 30 in the country. And it was a blast. I had a great time. As I got into 16s and 18s, I kept playing, kept being a nationally ranked player, and ended up at the College of Charleston. And I played there from 1990 to 94 on a full scholarship for tennis, which was my dream and my goal at that time. And yeah, that's how I ended up here. I ended up at the college and I played there for 4 years. I actually started coaching in the summer of '92 at Sneed Farm with Dewey Calder. He was my first boss, and I ended up loving working with kids. I loved teaching tennis. So when I graduated in '94, I took a more full-time job, first at Farm Field and then at the Country Club of Charleston. And I ended up working there for several years. Kind of right off the bat, I did really well with junior players. I had a lot of #1 in the state, and I actually, over the first couple of years, developed my first national player. She ended up going to Furman. Her name was Mary Neal, and had an undefeated Furman season at #1 her senior year, which was really cool. But anyway, I got out of teaching for just a little bit to help my dad with his business before I got back into it in 2001 when they started building the Family Circle Tennis Center. And I started working with one of my all-time favorite coach mentors, which was Fritz Now. He had been at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy for years and had worked with so many great players from the time they were little until they had developed, and many of them became pro tennis players. He worked with Andre Agassi and Jim Courier and Maria Sharapova and Monica Seles and so many great players that he got to be a part of their development. And sometimes, he traveled with Andre for 8 years on the road, so he got to see it from the beginning all the way to the pro tour. And he taught me everything about how to develop a player. We worked together for 8 years and in Charleston, and we're still great friends. We still do stuff together with our players, and he really gave me a whole different view of tennis and how to coach it. I had no idea the depth and the level of thought until I met him of what could go into developing a player who wanted to reach high levels, such as pro tennis. And he was a master at it. He was great at putting the pieces together and having a vision for a player. And so that's where most of my themes still come from on how to develop a player. The basics don't change so much. Some of the styles and some of the way the game is played varies as different people come to the top of the game, but how to develop them from the get-go, the repetition and the time that it takes, is still pretty much the same. So over those 8 years, I was fortunate enough to work with him, and we worked with hundreds of players who went on to play college tennis. We were the first online school. So Fritz and I ended up developing hundreds of players that went on to play college tennis and beyond. He was very instrumental in introducing me to so many other great coaches along the way. I got to spend time with Pat Etcheberry, who is one of the world's leading strength and conditioning coaches, who worked with Pete Sampras and Justine Henin and a whole slew of incredible tennis professionals that he got into shape. And a lot of them went on to win the French Open, which is the toughest one. I got to spend time with Andre Agassi's strength and conditioning coach, Gil Reyes. I went to his gym in Las Vegas. And Fritz got me in the door there to meet Gil, and Shelby and I had gone out there to meet him, and he helped train her for a week. And we got to see his gym where he built every piece of equipment for Andre, which was just awesome. We got to meet Darren Cahill out there. Steffi Graf was there. It was just an amazing experience, but all these things kind of came around with Fritz. And the other incredible contact was Jim Lair, who is one of the world's leading mental toughness coaches. He's written a bunch of books. He's got several videos out there, and people have always turned to his mental toughness techniques, and it's really still a part of pro tennis, the things that you see the players doing between the points especially. So many great, amazing contacts from Fritz as well that introduced me to more amazing things that I got a chance to learn on how to develop, world-class athletes and tennis players. And another person that Fritz introduced me to that became one of my other mentors was Lenny Schloss, who is the man behind the iCoach, the Billie Jean King iCoach. And I spent from 2010 to 2014 with Lenny, but actually I'd been with him a few years before, learning just amazing science on the eye and the brain and how they function when hitting a tennis ball, when running to and getting in position for a tennis ball. And he really inspired me to learn deeper about the brain, about how it's all working to get the most out of what we do on the tennis court. The iCoach is an incredible tool, and he taught me so much about how to use it. But even beyond that, he taught me how to teach tennis, how to understand that language can get in the way and that we need to be careful about the things that we say while a player is learning, so that they can get the information the best way possible. And a lot of times it's not even about what you say. Tennis can literally be taught by imitation, just by actions, and not even really needing words. And I learned all those things from him, which was a great journey down a rabbit hole, but it was well worth it to kind of round out my teaching. So the other thing that Fritz did for me was he told me one day, he said, "Bryan, listen, if you're going to teach tennis at the highest levels, you can't coach off of your game and what you think you know. You need to video and study video of professional players who have gone as far as you can go with the game." And that really was an important lesson for me. So I started studying video, and probably over the last 15 years, I've probably studied 15,000 hours of professional video. And then I've done so many studies of my players' videos over time. So it's really taught me how to have an eye for what's going on, because until you see it in slow motion, it's really hard to actually see what's happening out there. But I've done it for so many years that my eye is just kind of trained to see the little details in players that are hurting their games, that are causing them injuries, that are, you know, making them less efficient, making them not hit the ball as well as they'd like to, things that, you know, can be corrected. And so that's why I absolutely love getting a player when they're young, where we can take care of those things right off. Let's get them while they're young and teach them how to do it the right way, and develop the habits that they need, which are many. You have to have so many great habits to be a great tennis player. And it's not just about technique and footwork. It's about character, and it's about mental toughness. It's about being able to do all the little details correctly from the get-go. And the longer you have a chance to do those things right, the more chances you have later to do great things. And I got to see that working with Fritz over those years, with training Shelby, because I got Shelby at 7 years old. Shelby Rogers is still top 50 in the world right now. She just turned 30, and heading into this year, she's still one of the top players in the world. She turned pro when she was 17, and I got to be with her from 7 to 17. I got to be with her several times after that. We've constantly kept in touch over the years. So I know that the things Fritz taught me, and then the things that I took from him and taught her, were things that worked. And she still sends me books and things that she finds interesting, because that was all part of the learning. It was just about learning. How much can you learn and how much can you get better? It wasn't about rankings, or it wasn't about, you know, who you could beat. It was just how much better are you getting, and how much can you improve yourself? And by doing that, winning becomes a part of that. And I couldn't be here today doing the things that I'm doing with the kids that I'm coaching now if it weren't for all the coaches that I've been in contact over the years that have helped me learn and grow. And very thankful to have Joanne over these last few years, giving me a great place to work. And we've been working together since, oh my gosh, since I started teaching. I've known Joanne, and she's always been a huge help to me. So I appreciate all the things that I've learned through tennis. It's given me an incredible life. All of my friends I've pretty much met through tennis. All the people that I know, love, and care about has been through this incredible sport. And it's taught me so much about life. I've learned to do the other things that I enjoy doing, music and photography and things like all of those things I learned because I learned how to play tennis. And anyway, I think it's an amazing sport. It's given me an incredible life. And anyway, thank you for listening, and hope you have a great day.